All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. My name is Matt Sykes, a systems engineer here at Verify, and I will be your host for today's workshop. Today, we're joined by Mike Stratton, another SE over here. He's going to walk us through the application logs. Hey, Mike, how's it going today, buddy?
Good, good. How are you?
Doing just fine, doing just fine. Okay, everyone, we're going to start with a quick overview of our company and what we do. Next, Mike will help us interpret and review Verify application logs. We will pause for Q&A and get some of your questions answered. During the demo, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the Q&A panel in the bottom right corner of the screen, not the WebEx chat, but the Q&A panel. After Q&A, we will reward one lucky attendee a $50 Amazon gift card, so hang around and see if you have won. All right, Verify is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. We provide industry-leading CDR, UCCX, Cube Call Analytics, customizable dashboards and widgets, remote phone control, change management, and dial plan management. But today we're just going to focus on the Verify app logs in our web interface. If you have any other questions on any of our other features, please feel free to chat them over to me and we'll take those offline and get those answered for you promptly. Okay, one more thing before we kick things off here. For those of you looking for a more hands-off Verify experience, we do offer a managed consulting service. This is a service that provides a dedicated Verify SE to do all the heavy lifting, giving you and your users a complete hands-off experience. Think of us as kind of like an extension of your organization. It provides upgrades, one-on-one training, report and dashboard building, or anything you need really. Your Verify dedicated SE will have you covered. The only thing you have to do is just reach out to us. If you want to have any additional information on our ECS service offering, please feel free to reach out to your account manager and we'll be happy to see if ECS is right for you. Okay, with all of that said, we're going to kick it over to Mike and he's going to take us into the wild.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Matt, for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us today. Today's webinar or workshop is not about a new report or a new feature. Really, we're just going to take a kind of a entry-level 101 kind of class and take a look at the software log. So, one of the first steps that any technician takes while troubleshooting is to take a look at the logs. Whether you're troubleshooting our software, some other software, or even hardware. It's no different. It's no different, within the Verify environment. So, what we're going to do today is kind of take a look at the logs, kind of, get our feet wet, and then kind of go from there. So, first things first, I'm going to log into my local lab system. So first things first, where are the logs? The logs they can be accessed by clicking this little logs icon in the top right corner next to the settings icon. If you do not see the logs icon, that means that you are not an administrator. So only system administrators can see the logs, or in this case, the settings icon as well. So clicking the logs icon will take you to the log files menu. Now you have three options in this menu, or there's kind of three features. One is this drop-down list of all of the available log files. The next button the button to the right is the view button. So this view button will display the contents of whichever log file is selected in the drop-down list. And then the download all logs button. When you click this button, the software will zip up all of the logs and then download them through your browser. So I'll click on this guy here, get this download going. My lab, it doesn't have a lot going on, so the logs are very, very tiny, so the zip file is pretty small. But if you have like a very busy system with large log files, it may take some time to zip up. Just give it a few seconds to a few minutes, and then it will download the file. So log files. The software has multiple logs, so everything is broken down to multiple logs. You can see, the access log, the app error log, the app out log. Each of these each file is named after the log, and then the file extension is .log. In older versions of the software, you're going to see file extensions where they're not just .log, but where there's a number behind them. So like here, this is the insight log. This is kind of like the main log for the software. If it ends in .log, this is the current log that the software is writing to. In older versions, if you see like a .log followed by a number, this is the older log. So when the insight log becomes full and each file it'll grow to be 3 meg in size. And once it hits 3 meg, then the software creates a new log file. So The current log file is the insight.log. The next log, or the next oldest log file is log.1, 2, 3, and so forth. So it'll keep going back. In the more current versions, that was changed. So we got away from renaming the files with a number, and now there's this timestamp. So so my lab was running originally on an older system, and then I upgraded to our beta release, and now in the current release, we are adding a date stamp when the file is. You think of it like being retired, when the file is retired or archived. When the file is no longer being used, the date stamp in the file is the last entry in the log. So this insight log is from the 5th at 1:53. So if I view it, let it read. We see here the 5th at 1:53 Central Time. So that's how how they're named. So if you're looking for something current, look for the file that ends in the .log. If you're looking for something a little older, look for something that has either a date stamp or a number. If you're seeing both, then that means that your system was just originally running the older logic. It's been upgraded. Now it's currently looking, now everything currently is looking for the date stamp. Okay, so we'll kind of go through a quick overview. I won't go through every log. Let me I'll actually show you through the zip file. So if you do download all the logs, and in many cases you can do it to look at the logs, if you're working with one of us, if you open a ticket or just, we're troubleshooting many times instead of, going back and forth through email, we'll just say, hey, send us a copy of the logs. And the logs will tell us what's going on in the software. So to open this, just right click, unzip it like you would any other zip file. And now I've got a copy of all the log files. So you can see, there's numbers, there's date stamps. So I'll go through kind of everything briefly, and then we'll jump into some of the more important ones because not all these logs are used all the time when troubleshooting. So kind of a quick overview. The access log shows some information just on like local accounts. So if you want to see like who's logging in, who's logging out. Actually, no, this one. It's not a whole lot to see here. It's just I'm the only one logging in, but you can see, and for local accounts, so we can see local, it's successful. I logged in with my admin account. I can see, with the browser I'm using, and you can just see every time that I'm logging in around the system. The app error and the app out logs, nothing crazy going on here. There used to be this old log called output that was broken out, and then most of the contents are written here. So you'll see some generic errors or some output logging in these two errors. Authentication log, you're seeing more user attempts, kind of like the access log here, but a lot of it is just seeing how, when people are navigating through the software. Broadcast, if you have the remote phone control feature and you're using the broadcast feature, you'll see some logging here. CCX Analytics, this is a great log if you are a CCX customer. This has to do everything with widgets, reports, queries, pretty much everything except the real-time agent widget. And some database connection logs can be found in the main log for the software, which is the insight log down here. CDR processing, this was broken out from the insight log. This shows you the data being the call manager and cube data being inserted into the database. So if you want to see, hey, is the software collecting? Is it processing data? I see it's being sent from the call manager. What are we doing? Is everything working? Take a look at these logs to see, what's being written to the database. CUM sync. If you're running a sync for the cluster, then that's where we pull the end user information, like device information from the call manager. You'll see that information here. We'll skip over this guy here. Dashboard logs. Just contains information on like cache data, fetch times, number of records found. I'll skip some of these guys. Failed SQL, a great log if records are failing or any sort of like SQL queries are failing. A log of it will be kept here. Insight log, as I said earlier, this is like the main log. Most of everything else will be found here. And there could be a lot of data being written here. If it's a busy system, a lot of widgets. These logs will grow or will kind of replicate and kind of archive really pretty quickly. Performance, you have some performance-based metrics here. If you're running like an upgrade or an installation, everything here will be logs. Phone control, phone macros. Again, if you're doing like phone controls or macros, you'll see some logging here. SMTP, so anytime an email is sent, it is logged here in the SMTP log. SQL log, if you want to get into the SQL queries, you can see what's logged here. And then widget caching. And finally, the XMPP debug log. That's again back to CCX. For the real-time agent widget, we use a connection to Finesse's XMPP service. So if you're troubleshooting connection issues with that one widget, you'll see it here. So what to look for, how to find it, where to go. So if you're about to dig through the logs, you're probably looking for an issue or you're looking for an error. So a couple different ways you can search the logs. One, from the interface here, pick the log you want to see. Go for the current log, view it, and then you could scroll through it. Definitely, I always start at the bottom, scroll up. All of this is just normal. So there's a little column here or a value here that says it'll either say info, debug, or error. If there's an info is just normal logging. It's what the software is doing. We can see we're going out to call manager. We're talking to call manager. Everything looks great. If there's an error, and there may not be one in this log, but just do a control F. I've already looked for it in the past, search for it. So here's a couple of different errors. So this is, nothing crazy. It's just as the software is, running through its routines. I don't have any rate tables configured in my lab. So it's saying, hey, it didn't find any rate tables. But again, a really easy way to find an error. Let's keep going. We're looking at same thing. And it's just repeating over and over again. And here's the next one. So here's a different error. This error here, again, we found another error just by searching for error. So different error. This was when I was messing around with the CCX. Essentially, I put in just a fake IP address and then it couldn't connect. So this is just telling me, SQL error code failed to connect. And you get all this here. So when searching for errors, you can search for the word error. When scrolling, if there's an error, it may be just one line here, like in this case, or you'll see all these lines of text that start with the word at. This is, if you're scrolling quickly, look for something like this, where you'll see the entire error. Scroll to the top, look for the message. You can see here's the message, and halfway down, then it'll say, what it's caused by. So this will give you an idea of what's going on or what's failing. So another way you can do it, you can copy and paste this. You can copy and paste the entire file to like a text editor, think Notepad++ or Notepad if you really like it. I prefer to use TextPad. Just an old habit from back in the day. You can copy and paste that text to a text editor and then search to it that way. If you prefer, for me in this case, same thing. I like TextPad. I can search. I can mark all the lines of text that have the word error in it. Copy everything. Open a new tab and then just paste. So now I just have a page looking at all the different errors. I can look through it. Pay attention to the date and timestamp to see when it occurred. If there's more to the error, I can scroll to that point in time and see what else is going on. Third way, you can download the logs and go through that way. So instead of going through the different files, let me jump back into my folder here. So yeah, you can go through the files one by one. If you want, I've done it a couple times where open the command prompt and just run a quick command to copy all the files into one big file. So you're merging all these files into one, so you can search through everything instead of one at a time. Or you can open up multiple like Notepad++ and TextPad. You can open up multiple files as multiple tabs, and then just search that way. So just open with same thing as copying and pasting. You can still run the same searches and take a look at the data that way. Okay, so here we'll stop and I'll dig through I'll show you a couple examples of the more kind of the logs that we normally look at while troubleshooting. So let me close out of this guy, this out of here. So I just have some samples of some different logs. Really, like the big ones are going to be if you're looking at contact center, CCX Analytics and the XMPP debug log. That'll cover most of collection, report building, report generating, widgets, and the real-time agent widget. You also may see some on the CCX side in the insight log. On the call manager side, The CDR processing is a great log to see, what's going on as far as the collection and processing of CDR. Failed SQL, if you're getting like an automated email from the system saying that data or insertions, data being inserted failed, and it gives you like an attached little error log file or error file. You can check out the failed SQL log to see what queries are failing. Insight log, main log. Of course, it's always important to go there and just kind of scroll through it and try to find troubleshoot your issue. SFTP, looking for email, and then SQL log, if you want to see if you're troubleshooting like a SQL query, like maybe like a report's not working or a report is generating, but maybe it's missing calls. If you're digging that far into it, you can take a look at the SQL logs or maybe even the Insight logs to take a look at the query to see, what are we filtering on, what's in that where clause. So I'll open a couple here. This is just, I think, plain CCX analytics log. Let's do a quick search for error. Nothing. Perfect. So basic CCX log, you're going to see a lot of, if you have a lot of widgets, you'll see a lot of this where you're seeing just the widgets refreshing and so on. So a lot of it's repeating, just info, nothing crazy on the CCX analytics log. Just a lot of repetition here. You'll see, a report was generated. So you see the report, here's the query that's running behind the scenes. So if you're troubleshooting, well, on the CCX side, we're not collecting the data. We're going out the contact center. So if you want to see, what are we querying or what, especially when it comes to like the where clause, like, is something not being brought over. This is great to look at the query to see how the report's being generated. I used this on a customer a couple of weeks ago where, a specific agent wasn't showing up in the report. We tried different widgets, we tried different reports, we couldn't get them to appear. We ended up looking at the where clause here and just kind of deconstructing everything here to figure out, why the agent wasn't appearing in the report. Turns out Cisco was doing something different with the active or inactive and the inactive date stamps that was causing them not to appear. And then the CCX eventually fixed it on its own. Here's what's more widgets, just refreshing. So throughout the day. So if you have a lot of widgets or a lot of users, this log may only contain a few minutes worth of data. I mean, this one here ends at 7:19. So this one contains about a day, almost over a day of logs. But I've seen some where it only contains a few minutes because of the logs. And here is more of a warning, not an actual error. There's a fourth type of warning. Just it looks like it dropped the connection to or no matching interval found for a specific date range. So there's a CCX analytics log. Let's jump into processing. So this log, we'll go here first. This log shows you everything on the processing side for column matcher and cube. So we'll see a little bit here. And a lot of it is just repeating where you can see, it starts collection, it goes out, it looks for files, and then if it finds anything, it'll show you. So really this is just the task going on processing. I believe this is from my lab. So, unless I'm putting data in my lab, a lot of it is just going to be just looking for data and not finding anything. Then at some point, I put some customer data in my lab. So you can see, this is just normal. It's looking every couple of minutes. It's going out, not finding anything, and then I put the file in. Next time it collects, now it's starting to do work. So now it's starting to see, hey, it takes the data, the raw file, it splits it into individual files with 15,000 records, splits it all, and then it starts processing. So when you're looking for processing, the software inserts data in chunks of 200 records. So here, the first 200, the next 200, and so on and so on, and then it repeats. So if you're looking for processing, maybe if you're looking to see data being processed, look for the inserting log entries, 1 to 200 days. So normal day-to-day use, if it's not a busy system, you may only see less than 200 records. So look for this line, or you can take this text. Actually, I'll wait for the next log. We can go to this log here. This was actual system log for a system that was down for 10 days. Small system, but it was down for 10 days. So right here, we can see it's not collecting any data. It's just going through the routine, nothing there, nothing there. It's waiting for data to come across. At some point, I believe a couple days later, or maybe a day, where do we find it? You'll see here now it's starting to find records, and so when if the call manager is not pushing data, or it should be archiving or buffering those CDR records. The moment that the connection is restored, the call manager will start to dump those records, one by one or file by file. So if you want to see what it's doing, we'll just take a look. If we search for inserting records, we can bookmark all those lines, copy them out, and take a look here. So we can see, collection started 11:32. Everything came back online, and you can see now it's collecting, 89 records, 97 records. So now, we're collecting all those files that the call manager, wasn't pushing for 10 days. And for whatever reason, this is really slow to catch up. It looks like every 2 minutes we're only getting about 100, 100, 200 records. Usually they come a little faster, but we're going, every 2 minutes we're going out, collecting data, and then inserting into the database. Okay. Close on here. Go back. So fail SQL. If you're looking for, we see it usually sometimes in Cisco, they'll send values in the CDR that are too large for our database columns. So many times we'll see like SQL truncation errors. Maybe if the database, if we lost connection, you'll get different errors. So going into failed SQL, you're guaranteed to see some errors. So going to the bottom, this is from, well, almost a year ago. But we can see, it looks like the connection was dropped. You can see, the SQL query that it was trying to insert or it was trying to run, and this was just where it was inserting data. So here, the failed SQL log, guaranteed to see some errors if there's anything in the log. But yeah, you can run it, you can troubleshoot the data, and see why it was failing or what's going on. So it could be, like I said, truncation error, database connection issue. But yeah, if a SQL query or statement fails, it'll be logged here. Insight log, main log of the system. This is the great spot to start if you're troubleshooting. It contains a little bit of everything, and then some. You're going to see a lot here, just, for widgets being kicked off, refreshed. You're not going to see like a lot of the queries and that kind of stuff in here, but you can just see, a general idea of what's going on in the system. Any routines, all this good stuff. So here's a couple of where clauses. So again, search for troubleshooting, search for error. We have a small error here. This was from a CCX that was it dropped the connection and then it cut over. That's really all I got on this log. But again, scroll to the bottom, work your way up, search for errors, pull out what you're looking for. If your system is moving fast, if there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of users, a lot of widgets, my best recommendation is to duplicate the error if you can, and then quickly either download the logs or jump to the logs so that the error is, you have a better chance of finding which insight log, or you have a better chance of it being contained in the main log file. If you wait 10, 15 minutes, or even 20 minutes, like in a busy system, that log or that error may not be in the current log, and you may have to dig through the different insight logs to kind of figure out which one it is. A couple different examples of errors in the insight log. So this is one I worked on with Dre a couple days ago. We were seeing just some non-unique errors. So we can see, the basic error. Here's that big error, or all the text that start with the word at. You can see, here it goes all the way down to here. So this was easy to find because it was just going over. It was, the error was being logged over and over and over again. So even starting at the bottom, we can see this is what's going on. So definitely, if you see something like this, caused by, with all of the ats in the row, and each row with at, this is the error. Scroll to the top, look for that timestamp, and that's where the error begins. One more. Let's go to open. There should be a UCCX error somewhere in this log. Same thing. This is the one, with the SQL exception. So not all errors are very big. This one was just a again, it was just the I mentioned earlier. This was the one where we couldn't connect to the publisher, and then it ended up failing over. So this is all you really see when looking at the CCX side. If you have a failover, you're looking really for something like this. So it's not like a big error that kind of jumps out. You're just you did something much smaller text, but if you search for error, you will see it here. SFTP. Uh, so every time an email is sent, there should be entry in the SMTP log. Here's the body of the email, but really what you're doing is you're looking for, in this case, this one was failing. But you're seeing, different errors in the logs. You'll see it here. Let me scroll back up so I can find the email sent. Might be the wrong log, but you can see the body, what was sent. Looks like an HTML file. And then you'll see if it was delivered or not. Another good way of seeing if the report was delivered instead of going to the logs, or seeing if the report was generated completely or correctly. If you go back to the call analytics reporting section, go to the report for your cluster, just go to the repository. I would start there for troubleshooting, taking a little detour here, and then view it, and you can see if the report generated or not. So in this case, I have nothing going currently. No reports in my lab, but you can come in here and in the repository, view history, and then you will get a list of reports here, and you can see if the report failed or not while generated. It may save you a couple of minutes looking through the logs. And we'll do the final two real quick, and then we're all set. SQL log, this will log everything. So not just the errors, but you'll see a lot of what's going on the SQL side of things, what's being queried, statements, a little bit of that. You'll see a lot of different. This is more on the upgrade side. But SQL stuff going on in the back end, what's going on in the database, and then with Finesse, if we're troubleshooting that real-time agent widget, you can see what's going on between us and Finesse. This is from our demo system. So a lot of this is just the kind of like the heartbeat or the handshake. In a busy system, you won't see a lot of this. What you will see is this. So this is what's coming across from Finesse. This is when and every time an agent state change, you'll see the XML like this. You'll see the agent's name. And so if you're seeing this and you're seeing with the proper date and timestamp, then that means that we are getting the updates, and then you can continue to troubleshoot from there. If you're not seeing the updates, and especially in a couple older versions, we would the connection would be dropped, and then you would just see the heartbeat. A simple server reset or just kind of changing the settings and then changing them back will kind of reset that Finesse connection, and then we're back up and running. So, all right, I will stop talking for a little bit. Push it back to Matt. All you.
Awesome job, Mike. Fantastic as always. Suppose if you wanted to see some errors in the repository, you could have checked demo because I had a few failures on there last week, but that's neither here nor there. But fantastic job. Okay, everyone, now it's time for Q&A. If you have any questions related to today's content that Mike just breezed through here, please ask them in the Q&A panel in the lower right-hand corner of the WebEx panel, and we'll get them addressed for you right now. Mike, we did have one question. Michael did lob this over, and since you're still screen sharing, I'll take it back in a moment. But Michael asked a pretty decent general question, but asked if he's accessing a current log in the UI and viewing it, will it lock the log and start a new one, or will it keep writing to the file size limit is reached on that file?
It'll keep writing to the file. The display. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I should have. The display in the logs, it doesn't refresh live. So really, all it does is it's just pulling the current text in real quick, and then this is what you're seeing. So it'll keep writing. So if if you're here and you want to toggle or re-trigger an error, just hit the view button again, then it'll refresh. So yeah, really, we're just pulling the text in and then showing it on the screen.
All right, that's all we had. So I'm going to snag the wheel back if you don't mind.
Go on ahead.
Let's go ahead and share. So if there's any last questions, feel free to go ahead and drop them in right now. Otherwise, we will continue. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'd like to make mention of our excuse me, of our user community, Planet Verify, our new online community where you can connect with your peers and expand your knowledge on all things Verify. Plus, you may end up with some new drink recipes from the cantina. There's also where you can sign up to be a part of the upcoming Verify 13.0 EFT that is actually running right now, excuse me, not the upcoming, the current offering of the Verify EFT. So Okay, so the moment we've all been waiting for. The winner of this week's workshop gift card is Richard Rumney. Woo! Congratulations, Richard. Your account manager will be reaching out to you shortly to get you paid. Okay, for all of you, don't forget to join us next week where Victor and I will showcase how to identify if your hunt groups are dropping calls. Should be another good one for us. So thank you all for attending and taking time out of your day and joining us. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.